Good day to you, my grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's mathematical literacy lesson. My name is Bernard Donko. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. So today, as part of our paper 1 revision towards the examinations, we want to look at a bit of finance. And what I want you to consider now as a high-flying learner is to be able to work with quartiles, percentiles, interquartile ranges. Right. By now you know that our grade 12 question paper is structured as paper 1, having finance, data handling, as well as probability. So how do we get the marks? For finance, it's going to count about 90 marks, data handling about 53 marks, and then probability 7 marks. All in all, it has to be written in a period of 3 hours. So it means that you have to really try and manage your time very well. Along the way, we'll be asking you questions about growth charts because it's very important that you prepare yourself very well in that instance. Now, question 1 will have about 30 marks. Those are easy questions that I feel that by this time, you are going to score as many marks as possible on that. Possibly you can score 30 out of 30. Then question 2 will have finance. Question 3 will deal with data handling. Then you are going to have question 4 and 5, which will deal with what you call integration, meaning it will have questions on probability, finance, data, all mixed together. And you are going to do very well as long as you try and practice them. Now, when we talk of data handling, remember we are revising now. So I'm teaching you the points, the aspects where you have to focus your revision on. So here, data handling, you'll be answering questions on classifying and organizing data, summarizing data, as well as representing data. You have to be able to express probability as a decimal, as a fraction, or as a percentage. Now, these are some of the tips you need to consider when you are studying. Please ensure that you read your timetable well so that you know which questions you have to answer on which days. The next point is that you have very less time. Whatever days that are here are very much less compared to what you think of. So you have to ensure you prepare very well. Don't miss a day without studying and don't miss a day without reading. That will help you a lot. Okay. So now, as a high-flying candidate, remember that by this time, you should be able to work on different types of graphs. You have bar graphs, histogram, horizontal bar graphs. These I'm showing them to you. I believe that by this time you know. If you don't know, this is a perfect opportunity for you to go over them again. Now, what should you do during the examinations? You have to ensure that you are able to read your instructions carefully. Do not make a mistake. If the examiner says answer this question, leave your answer into 1 decimal or 2 decimal places. Be able to do that. Don't spend too much time on questions that are not going to give you more marks, but also they are very challenging for you. Work on the easy ones. You will come back later and deal with that. Your responses should correspond with the marks that have been given to you. It is absolutely vital. Again, don't leave blank spaces. Yes, you don't know this answer, but then you will come back and respond to them. That's what I'm implying. Always try the quick win questions because they will help you. On these pages here, I'm leaving you with various ways that can help you to reset your calculator, because once you know them, it is able to help you to answer a lot of questions without even having to think about it so much. So, like the question has been given to you and you have to use your calculator to answer them. There are various ways of solving it, and as long as you have a calculator like this, which is called a Casio, then you should be able to get those questions going. You should be able to score as many marks as possible. Right. Now, all that you have to do is to look at the steps that I'm giving to you, press them on the calculator, and you are able to answer and get those marks. You find that this is like a 4-mark or 5-mark question. So I'm very confident that you'll be able to answer them correctly. Okay. The next point is you have to know the items that you must bring in the exam room. Your ID, timetable, calculator, pen, pencil, because in there, you are not going to be allowed to borrow from anyone. So you prepare yourself thoroughly in your mindset and even the things you need to carry there. The next aspect will be you have to understand the different types of graphs because you are going to answer questions on them. When we say a pie chart, what is that? Yes, you are not going to draw a pie chart in the examination, but you have to be able to calculate a pie chart value in terms of percentage and in terms of degrees. You have to know the difference between a histogram and a bar graph. If it's a bar graph, there are spaces amongst them. Histogram in the bars, they touch each other. Those are some of the things you need to look out for. So let's look at a pie chart then, because you're going to answer questions on. When we talk of the pie chart, you have to know that the examiner is going to give you various sectors, various aspects that will end up making the pie chart. Yours is to utilize that information and answer the questions that have been asked. So look at the example that we are given here. The examiner wanted us to take each portion of the sectors that have been given to us and convert it to percentage. So first thing that you do is to ensure that your total is calculated for. Then you come and take each value, divide by the total, multiply by 100. And once you're able to do that, the examiner then draws a pie chart like what you are seeing on the screen, and they begin to ask you questions. So it means that you have to get yourself ready to answer questions based on the pie chart that you are going to find. They have given us another example here that these are various colors and number of people who prefer those colors. So the examiner is saying we should use this information to find out how many people are there, those that took part in the survey. So the first thing you have to do is to add all of them. Then from there, if I can go by quickly, you will see there are 6, 7, 13, 14, 12, 8, and 15. Your job is to ensure you have the total. Have the total as total number of values. Can you see everywhere that I'm working, I am dividing by 65. Where am I getting 65 from? It's from all the values put together. Then you go and take each sector, divide it by how many values are there. Multiply by 100 and then you are done. Okay. If you have to work on it as a degree, then it means instead of multiplying by 100, we are now going to multiply by 360 because the whole circle makes up 360 degrees. Okay, so here, because I am teaching you, I'm asking you to draw a pie chart, but in examination, you are not going to draw a pie chart, so take note of that. Right, so for each sector, I have drawn a pie chart that is showing us what each chart represents. So when you see the 12 and so on, now it's representing the various figures or the various percentages that make up the pie chart. All right, then let's go to the next portion. All right, now let's look at bar graphs. When we talk of bar graphs, like I said earlier, we are talking of spaces among the bars. There must be spaces between them. If it's a histogram, definitely they touch each other. So what I'm giving to you here is for you to spot what kind of graph that the examiner is asking you. You have to know whether it's a bar graph or a pie chart. We have been able to talk of pie chart already. Now we're focusing on bar graph. But how do we get to know we are not going to confuse a bar graph with a histogram? If it's a histogram, there are no spaces. Okay, so here is an example. There was a survey that was conducted for different types of fruits and how many people preferred them. So the examiner is saying that we should present this information using a bar graph. Then what you do is that once they say present this information using a bar graph, it means they are going to give you a graph paper. So can you see that each portion has a space? Then our job is to check how many people are there and draw the bars to represent them. So if it's a bar graph, do you realize that there are clearly defined spaces for them? There are spaces. So when they say draw a bar graph, this is something the examiner wants you to do. Now, let's look at real-time exam question papers. They're saying use the information alongside to answer the following questions. 1.1, the examiner is saying you are supposed to write the e-toll tariff for a non-registered user who passes through the Ukozi gantry and drives a Class B vehicle. 1.2, we are supposed to write down the names of the gantries that show the highest tariffs for registered e-tag users driving Class B. So as you read the question, what I need you to do is to ensure that you highlight the key points. That is very key. Look at the first one. What is the examiner asking for and what are you supposed to highlight? If you look closely, Yes, we are looking for the tariff, but the tariff must be based on non-registered. The person must be going through Ukozi gantry, and the person must be driving Class B vehicle. Those are the key points. So identify them, write them down, and let us move them. All right. Now let's look. How are you supposed to respond to that? So we have 1378 because they said we must look for Ukozi and Class B. Okay. Then the second one says we must now look for registered, but this time they are using Class B, and therefore the value we are looking for the names of the countries. This is Ibobe and Sunbird. So here, what are you getting from? The examiner is asking you to interpret the information that has been given to you and make sense of it so that you get as many marks as possible. Right, let's look at 1.3. It says, refer to the tariffs for registered e-tag users driving Class B vehicles to answer the following. 1. Calculate the mean e-toll. So once you hear the mean, it means all the values divided by how many values are there. So if you can see, mean e-toll tariff for Class B vehicles. So we are focusing here. Are we together? But in our case here, the examiner says, let us consider the registered one. So we are focusing on registered Class B. So we are adding all the values and dividing by the number of gantries that are there. There are 17 of them. B, we are supposed to determine the median. And once they say determine the median, it means what you have to do is that you ensure that the values have been arranged. What is the key point? Arranged. Once it is arranged, then you can find the median. If it's not arranged, definitely you're going to make a mistake. So you see that with this example that I'm giving to you, I have arranged the value, and the median value is 7 Rand and 13 cents. 1.3c, state given a reason whether the mean e-toll tariff or the median e-toll tariff best represent. So the examiner is actually asking you to make a decision. Should you use the mean e-toll tariff or the median? And this is the best possible response that you should give in the examination. If you want to take the median is a better representation. Why? Because the mean is affected by an outlier. You can see all the values are like 6, 7, 8 thereabout, but then there's one value which is way far apart from the rest of the data set. So that's an outlier. Therefore, if you have a mean and there's an outlier there, it affects the mean. Once there's an outlier, it means your focus must be on the median. If there was no outlier, we're going to use the mean. Another way you could have responded is that the mean and the median are suitable representations, because if you look at the total, the difference amongst them is like 0.22, which is not that very much. Okay, so let's look now at 1.4. They give us answer sheet or a graph paper, and they want us to represent, drawing what? A bar graph for e-toll tariffs for non-registered users. Every time if you see what I am showing you now, you realize that I'm highlighting what the examiner wants. They want non-registered, they must be driving Class B, and we should draw a bar graph. So if you look at all the information that is given, the examiner will then give you a graph paper like this. Then how do you use it? What you have to do now is to ensure you draw for each sector. So if you do it very well, you realize that, can you see? Each one, each country, how many or how much it is, I have drawn and plotted for you. These are the ones that have already been plotted. I hope if you are revising and you are drawing these ones, you are getting the same values like mine. Right, now let's look at another exam type question. Here, it says, use the information in the table to draw a line graph, no longer a bar graph. We are now focusing on a line graph on the answer sheet, showing the total cost per single trip. This is the distance, cost per single trip. So we want these values. What will they look like? That way the examiner will then give you the answer sheet, which is mostly the graph paper. So in order for you not to go back and forth, the examiner will give you the values at the top of that answer sheet, and then you plot them. Now, how would that look like? You plot each value. That is very clear. Okay, let's go to question 2. Now I'm asking you questions that will make you to think a bit. It says Rafik is a soccer fan and he wants to use his knowledge of mathlete to understand the possible outcomes. Once you hear possible outcomes, we are talking of probabilities. So here, if you win, it's a W. If you draw, it's a D. If you lose, it's an L. Then the examiner has drawn the tree diagram, but it's just that it's not complete. So the examiner is saying, you must write down the missing information from the places. So do you realize that here is empty space? And there is also another empty space. You must figure it out. And for you to do that, you just look at the pattern, how it goes. Can you see it's win? So it must be draw, lose, because there's win, draw, lose, win, draw, lose. Do you see that? So this one is a draw, and that one is a lose, draw. Okay, now let us summarize whatever we have been going through now. Firstly, for you to be a high flyer means you have been doing very well, and your school is identifying you as one of the best candidates, meaning have a target. You cannot go in there and you are not sure how many marks you're going to score. It doesn't help. Meaning, if you want to be very well, let's say paper 1 you want 90, paper 2 you want 90, it means you're working around 180 out of 300. And I'm very much sure if you can work hard, you even get more than that. That will give you about 60%. You're already passing. For you, I am expecting that when you get home, you try the following homeworks so that you sharpen the knowledge that you are gaining today. It is very important that you do that. So that will bring us to the end of this video. I need you to practice and practice as much as you can. Hopefully, I will see you soon. Bye-bye for now.